So, Andrea,
Yes.
have you ever heard of taphophobia?
Hell no, what's that?
It is the fear of being buried alive.
Oh, I definitely have that then. How do you say it again?
Taphophobia.
Taphophobia. I would
Yes.
never want that to happen. No. I
No.
get chills just thinking about being like,
I know.
I had suppressed that fear for a very long time until
Mm-hmm.
we came to this episode, and a couple of my friends have been asking like, "Ooh, what's this week's episode going to be about?" And I'll tell like my two homegirls like, "Oh, it's on this." So I'll just tell them the like buried alive. And they're
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh my god." Ah, and I'm like, "Ah, I forgot about that." Like that's a thing that happens.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't happen as much anymore.
Or does it?
Or does it? I mean, how would we know?
No, you wouldn't know. Ah, that's the scariest part. You're stuck. No one knows.
Well, I'm excited to get into all this. So, welcome back, friends, to Cults, Crimes, and Spirits. I'm Nina.
And I'm Andrea, and today we are talking about premature burials and safety coffins.
So, actually, I didn't even do this on purpose, but I'm wearing the Twilight Zone t-shirt.
Hell yeah, I see that.
And honestly, thinking of being buried alive reminds me of like something that would be a Twilight Zone episode.
I would watch that, but I think I would have anxiety watching that Twilight episode. Did you see the new one? That, like, I think Jordan
That
Peele
Jordan
did?
Peele did.
Yeah.
I think I watched about half of that season. I think he had maybe 2 seasons. Maybe there's 2 seasons and we watched one, but we didn't watch all the episodes. It was pretty good. I like Jordan Peele, but nothing compares to the original.
The original is OG.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of like weird TV shows and stuff like that, this ain't a TV show, but I told you last night I came home and I watched Terrifier for the first time.
For the first time! What did you think?
I can deal with gore a lot better than like the paranormal movies and the like
Really?
sleep paralysis movies and
See, that's the kind of movies I like, is the more paranormal, sleep paralysis, freaky shit.
I'm like, that stuff's kind of happened to us in our life, so it hits
Yeah.
home. I don't like it. It freaks me out. I don't go to sleep. It's bad. I'm scared. Dude, when she gets sawed from her coochie down.
Oh, that is the
Sorry,
most
spoiler.
intense scene. That is the most intense scene in the entire movie. Like,
I felt that.
yeah.
I was like, oh.
But it's such a good movie.
It is. I'm gonna watch the second one. Maybe tomorrow. No, I don't know. Maybe sometime this week, if not next week.
Yeah.
It's spooky month. I gotta watch all the spooky things, and I haven't watched those before. And you and one of my friends, she loves it. She has earrings. She wore them today, and when I saw her earrings, I was like, ah! And she laughed.
So my fear of being buried alive, I think I can pinpoint when it started.
When
I was growing up, my grandma, she used to watch Days of Our Lives all the time, like never missed it. And this other show started called Passions, and started watching that. And I would watch soap operas with her and get really into it. And got into this show called Passions. Don't know whatever happened to it. I stopped following it completely. I think it's not even on the air anymore. But there was this character in that show that got buried alive. And they were rushing to get her, to
Oh, I thought you were
get
saying
her
they
out.
were Russian.
No, no. That's just my country accent. They were
They're rushing.
rushing to save her. And I remember like watching this as a kid, and like, soap operas go on for days. So this character was like in a coffin for probably the entire week. And she just kept getting weaker and weaker and, running out of air. And that's when my fear started. I was like, oh shit, don't want that to ever happen to me. I don't want to wake up in my coffin. And the reason that she got buried alive, they gave her some kind of drugs to make her look like she was dead.
Weird.
It slowed down her breathing and stuff.
Crazy. That's
When my fear
insane.
started. Yeah, I can pinpoint that one exactly.
Yeah, logical fear.
Yeah.
And you were young.
Yeah. So it's like it made an impression on me. I still remember watching it.
Are you gonna be okay during this episode?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Don't want to trigger you or anyone else before we start.
Yeah, if you do have a fear of being buried alive, warning, we're going to be sharing some stories that are quite terrifying.
Yes. Warning.
But first, a little bit of history. So, back in the day, like way back in the 18th, 19th centuries, doctors were obviously not as well equipped as they are today and didn't really have the best practices to determining if an individual was in fact dead.
Sketch.
Yeah, and also
a little bit.
So, like people were dying like so much back in the day, like with different diseases and stuff. Sometimes they would just assume they were dead and just like throw them in a mass grave because of diseases, or they would just bury them really quickly. And sometimes like a doctor didn't even see the patient. Like other people would just be like, yep, they look dead to me. And
Wow. And they could just be like barely fighting for their life still.
Yeah. And there were like these diseases too that caused like catatonic side effects, like cholera, malaria, and I never heard of this one, but it's like called catalepsy. And it's a medical condition characterized by a trance or seizure with a loss of sensation and unconsciousness, accompanied by rigidity, oh my God. rigidity of the body. So catalepsy would cause your body to kind of like seem like it's in rigor mortis. Yeah. And so then that made you look even more dead.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
Be buried alive.
Embalming wasn't really super common practice until like later in history. So like obviously if someone gets embalmed, you're dead. You ain't coming back from that because they're taking away all your blood and everything, draining all of that. But like back then, they weren't embalming you, so there was a chance that you could still be alive. Yeah, I told my husband, I was like, you better make damn sure I'm dead. Like, and if you don't know, just embalm me because then I'm definitely dead.
Exactly. No chances.
No chances. So in 1896, after being inspired by an experience in his own family that brought to mind the dangers of premature burial, Englishman William Tebb teamed up with his friend Walter Hadwin and Dr. Edward Perry Vallon, probably just butchered that name, but the Edward guy had his own brush with death because he was mispronounced dead and almost buried alive himself. These guys all teamed up to write a book called Premature Burial, How It May Be Prevented.
Okay, so how to tell someone's dead 101.
Basically. Like how to tell someone's dead for dummies.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was trying to go with that.
Yes.
Yeah, you got me.
So, because this was like such a problem and it had happened to several people, that they felt like they needed to bring this to more people's attention.
This is too common. Something's gotta change.
Like, we gotta stop people from being buried alive. So, this book shares stories of premature burials and, of course, how to prevent them, as the title suggests. That same year that this book was released, William Tebb and Walter Hadwin also founded the London Association for the Prevention of Premature Burial. Long name.
Yeah. Whew, a lot to say.
Mm.
They're serious, though.
Oh, very serious. They even made an attempt to have Parliament pass a bill to basically make doctors be more careful, like make them more accountable before just allowing a corpse to just be put into the ground. But they were not successful in that attempt.
That sucks. They tried, though.
They did try. The fact that they published a book, they created this association, just shows like, and then they tried to get Parliament to pass a bill, that there was a problem going on. But these guys, they were trying their hardest to bring it to people's attention. But their campaign for no more premature burials, coupled with works of fiction like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein that debuted in 1818, and Edgar Allan Poe's short story titled The Premature Burial, first published in 1844, and other sensationalized stories of the time of people being buried alive that were being published in newspapers, ended up just inciting more fear.
As it should.
Yeah, all these stories circulating.
Let the people know.
Yeah, and I'm sure not all of them were true, I mean, some people
still
just made stuff up, but some of them were actually documented cases. And basically they helped to bring about the fear of being buried alive, taphophobia. So obviously with this fear came inventions to put people's minds at ease, like safety coffins.
What is a safety coffin?
There's like several different ones. Several people created their own version.
Like you can get out or something?
Yeah, it has like a way to either you can get out of it yourself or ring a bell, which we'll get into, to alert someone.
All right.
So the first official safety coffin design was actually built for Duke Ferdinand of Brunswick before his death in 1792. So I guess this guy had
a long time ago.
Yeah, this Duke must have been a taphophobia too.
Yeah, he had that for sure. And he had the money to pay for the safety coffin.
So his safety coffin was equipped with an air tube and a window. There was also a lock that could be opened from the inside of the coffin, and he was buried with the key.
Oh, okay.
But he never used it.
He died. For real.
For real. When I think of safety coffins, like I was saying, I think of the stories of people being buried with like a string attached to a bell, and then they would ring the bell to like get someone's attention.
To let them know, hey, help, get me out.
Yeah, like I've seen that depicted in like movies of the Victorian times before. And so that's what I always think of when I thought of safety coffins. That's what I thought of, and it was a very real thing. The bell system on the safety coffins was created by Dr. I forgot to look up a pronouncer.
Johann Gottfried Tabberger.
Dr. Johann Gottfried Tabberger.
Yeah, that's all. That's good enough.
Yeah. We're going with that. The bell had a housing around it that prevented it from being accidentally rung by an animal or the wind blowing.
Oh yeah, that would be creepy.
Yeah, like every time the wind blows, you just hear all these like bells ringing in the coffin or in the graveyard. So this system, it was, like I said, is strings, and they would be attached to people's hands and feet, and if the bell was rung, it would indicate that the person is still alive in their coffin pulling the string, or that's what it was supposed to do. But due to natural decomposition of a corpse, the body, when a person dies, and they're not embalmed, it releases like gases and it kind of
Yeah.
shifts and like moves. Like it's not gonna just stay perfectly still, because there's like a lot of things that happen after we die. And because of that, the bodies are decomposing and they're shifting, and it would accidentally ring the bells. So
So
it
that
would
would happen.
yeah,
It
so
wasn't
it
the
would
wind, though. It was just decomposing bodies.
yeah, so it was like basically giving false positives, and they would go dig them up
And they
and
were really dead.
yeah, like decomposing dead. That'd be awful to pop open a coffin. I mean, I wouldn't want to pop open a coffin and realize someone was still alive either.
Yeah,
But
no.
yeah, so obviously those didn't really work like they were intended to.
Bummer.
Yeah. But some people believe that the popular saying "saved by the bell" originated because of this like bell system. I thought this too. I was
Yeah.
like, that has to be where it came from, but it is not. According to Ripley's, it was actually a boxing slang to indicate the end of a round, not in reference to saving someone who's been buried alive.
Weird.
Yeah.
But good to know.
Yeah. So, several safety coffins were patented back in the 1800s, but many of them, although equipped with all kinds of literal bells and whistles, oftentimes were missing a crucial piece.
What?
A lot of them didn't have like an airway, so
Oh.
yeah, even if the person alerted someone with a bell, then they have to hope someone's around to hear it, and then that they get to them in time. When if they had an airway in the coffin, then they could just it would keep them alive until
For as
someone
long as
got to
they
them.
needed, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of them did not have that airway.
Airway.
But some of them did. In 1868, a guy named Franz Vester, a German inventor, invented a very unique safety coffin that even had a place for snacks.
Snacks? Let's
yeah, that's
go,
my kind of
dude.
coffin. Like
Yeah,
I want, even if
same.
I'm dead, like I want to know that I have snacks.
Snacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know.
Mhm.
You could be not dead.
Yeah, exactly.
And hungry as fuck.
You can just imagine just chilling in your coffin and eating some like Cheetos or
Yeah, like what? Someone help! Bell, bell, bell! Air tube. Cheeto.
Okay, so additionally, this particular coffin had a ladder that could be deployed if the person buried alive like had enough strength. And if
Who
not,
the fuck has enough strength to crawl out of a grave? How deep were these graves?
I'm guessing 6 feet. And if they didn't have enough strength, then there was the bell you could ring to get someone's attention.
Second of all, they were just buried alive, so obviously they have no strength.
Yeah.
They think they're dead.
But maybe sometimes, like when you're in those type of situations, you muster up strength you didn't
think like
realize
adrenaline or something.
Yeah. But if you didn't have the strength, you could ring the bell and alert someone. And this coffin also had something called a chimney box. It was this box that was placed like on top of the coffin, and it reached about a foot above the grave. And if the person was alive in the box, they could pull this lever and it would open the chimney box so that you would have an airway. But the chimney box, I think, could not be opened from the outside. So this coffin also had more like headroom. So like if you did wake up, I guess you had room to like move around and eat your snacks.
It's a party.
Yeah.
Underground.
In 1897, Russian Count Mikhail D. Karnik, what a name, developed his own safety coffin after supposedly witnessing a Belgian girl be buried alive. Karnik's invention was a bit odd, though. From my understanding, there was a glass ball, and you place it on the person that's supposed to be dead's chest.
Why?
And It's attached to a string, and as stated by Burials and Beyond, on the slightest movement of the chest wall, like if a person was breathing, or any movement of the body, this glass ball releases a spring, which then causes the lid of the iron box to fly open immediately, thus emitting both air and light to the coffin. At the same time, a flag raises perpendicularly about 4 feet above the ground, and a bell is set ringing, which continues for about half an hour. In front of the box, an electric lamp burns, which gives light after sunset to the coffin below.
Bro, you're just doing too much. That's way too much.
Yeah. So, like the
I mean,
ball,
cool, cute, fancy. Too much.
way too much. And again, like Friends Vester's invention, it did not work. It was not successful at all because of natural decomposition, because the glass ball sets on a person's chest. So
And
when
it
they start to
decomposes. Oh my
decompose, it
gosh.
triggers all that. Yeah. So, yeah, it didn't work either. This next part is it gets me. I love it though. I love it because I'm so weird and curious about death and what happens after you die. But you think advancements in medical technology, coffins like this would be a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Well, the purpose of these next couple coffins I'm going to mention are a bit different, but according to the Smithsonian in 2010, a patent was granted to Jeff Dannenberg for an apparatus and method for generating post-burial audio communications in a burial casket.
What?
Yeah, let me explain. So this
But
particular
that also should have been that should have been the episode where I accidentally said asparagus.
yeah, apparatus asparagus.
Asparagus. That's a
That would
lot
have made more
closer.
sense.
Yeah.
This particular casket has an audio message system that contains audio and music files that are automatically played in accordance with a programmed schedule, thereby allowing the living to communicate with the deceased. This system also allows for wireless updating of the recorded files, giving surviving family members the ability to update, revise, edit, all that to the stored files.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so basically,
But they're still dead.
I love how they mention like communication with the deceased.
Yeah, like what? I thought
Because
it was gonna be more like EVPs and stuff.
that's what I was about to say. When I think of communicating with the dead, I think of like a spirit board or spirit box. I just thought it was interesting though, and it's
It
as
is.
recent as 2010.
That's pretty wild.
But a similar patent was granted to John Knight in 2015 for your Music for Eternity systems. This system comprises a solar-powered digital music player, which allows both the living and the dead to be comforted by music or a recorded message. There is a speaker in the casket and a headset jack on the headstone, so you can listen together.
That's cute though.
It is like you could go visit your
And
loved
put a
one,
message.
plug in, and you can listen to the same thing they're listening to, I guess, but it's still kind of
they're still
like
dead, but
yeah, exactly.
I originally thought it was gonna be like a speaker on the headstone, so like you could just listen to music with like if we went to go visit Papa, we could be like, "Hey Alexa, play Johnny Cash," and then like the headstone starts playing like Ring of Fire while we're like chilling.
So you want a headstone Alexa?
Yeah,
that would kind of be cool. Yeah.
It's more for the living though, but.
All right, so now on to some horrifying stories of individuals who have had the unfortunate experience of being buried alive. And one story of a woman who went to great lengths to avoid meeting the same fate. And this is Andrea's first time hearing these stories, so I'm going to let her read the first one.
Okay, so one of the most famous stories of someone being buried alive occurred in 1937 when Angelo Hayes, who was from France, wrecked his motorcycle and
surfed
and suffered some severe head injuries and was pronounced dead a few days after the accident and buried shortly after. But Angelo's father had taken out a life insurance policy on him, and so a claims adjuster from the insurance company was sent to investigate the cause of death. 2 days after Angelo was buried, his body was exhumed.
Our favorite word.
And when he was exhumed, it was discovered that he was still miraculously, somehow he was still alive. Angelo went on to make a full recovery. He even created a safety coffin himself, complete with a food locker, snacks, a chemical toilet, whatever the fuck that is, a library for when you want to just read your favorite book,
In your
and
coffin.
a radio transmitter.
According to Altitron, a chemical toilet collects human shit in a holding tank, and you it says like human extract,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Whatever, shit in a holding tank, and uses chemicals to minimize odors. So if you wake up and you're like, oh shit, I'm in a coffin, that would probably make you
take a shit.
Yeah, it'd probably make you have to take a shit.
Then you're like, oh shit, I'm buried alive and I just shit everywhere. Oh shit,
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass out from these gases and fumes.
But you won't, because the chemicals minimize odors.
There we go. Thanks, Angelo.
But can you imagine? So first of all, this dude was buried for 2 days, and like it said something because of his head injury. He was able to survive because like whatever happened with his injuries, like he didn't need as much oxygen because he was kind of in like a coma type state. So, but
how
can
did
you
he
imagine?
Get out?
Because the insurance guy was like, I need to see the body.
Oh, yeah.
And
I just
yeah, you just read that, dumbass. But can you imagine if like
I
the
bet
dad
he was down there trying to get out though.
But if the dad hadn't taken out a life insurance policy on him,
yeah, silly.
They would never know. He would have just been dead. Yeah. So back sometime in the 18th century, this English woman named Hannah Beswick was so afraid of being buried alive. This would have been me. Totally me. She was so afraid of being buried alive, she left her entire estate to her doctor with one condition: that her body could never be buried. And her doctor had to check on her corpse every single day until he was absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, sure that she was dead.
Yep, that's you, 100%.
Yeah. Eventually, the doctor embalmed her and proceeded to keep her remains. And every day for many years, the doctor and 2 witnesses checked on Hannah to make sure she was still dead. And according to the book A Cabinet of Medical Curiosities by Jan Bonderson, the doctor later moved Hannah's body into an old clock case and checked on her once a year. I added this story because obviously it's really interesting, but the doctor's name was Charles White.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's my dad's name. And I was reading the story and I was like, no.
And you're just like her.
Yes, that would totally be me. And when I read this story too, I thought, well, I couldn't find out any more information, but what happened to Hannah's body after the good doctor died?
Yeah, I'm like, I hope no weird shit happened.
Did she stay in the clock box?
Probably. Forever.
Did he pass it down to his relatives?
Yeah, here you go. It's your turn to hold on to it.
Yeah, here's this corpse.
Well, this next story took place in Charleston, South Carolina in the 1850s. 22-year-old Julia Legree was visiting relatives on Edisto Island when she became very sick. After being sick for some time and only getting worse, Julia was pronounced dead. Once again, embalming was not a common practice, so they reportedly buried her the same day she was pronounced dead. She was laid to rest in the family mausoleum. The family mausoleum was not opened again for 15 years when another family member passed away. When they entered the mausoleum, they found Julia's remains behind the door, and she awoke from her sickness and was trapped behind the heavy mausoleum door, where she eventually died for real. That sucks.
Yeah. Another interesting thing about this particular story is so ever since her body was discovered, the doors to the mausoleum, like the people that would, like her family and stuff, they would go there and they would close the door behind them or whatever, because they started going there more frequently after that happened, just make sure like that didn't happen again. Well, obviously those doors are so heavy. I mean, she couldn't get out. So even though they shut the doors, when they went back, the doors would be open.
No way.
And this happened so many times that eventually they just took the doors off the
That's
mausoleum completely.
insane.
Yeah, and so people believe that it's like Julia's spirit.
Oh, totally. Being like, don't
You're
close
not
them
locking me
doors.
in there again. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a ghost story associated with that one, which is kind of cool.
That is
Not
cool.
cool that it happened, but
Yeah. Cool that she haunted it.
yeah. In 1867, Philomel Jonitra,
That's a name for sure.
yeah, was presumed dead after succumbing to cholera. She was hastily buried within hours to avoid spreading the disease.
Oh, that would suck too. They'd be like, we gotta get him out, get him out, get him out.
Yeah, that's how it was back then. Like, that's
Yeah.
why a lot of this type of stuff happened. So, just a few hours after she was buried, a nearby gravedigger heard her screaming and banging on her casket for help. And she was quickly dug up and taken to a doctor, where she was unfortunately pronounced dead once more. They didn't get her there fast enough.
Oh no, so
And
she actually died. She wasn't just buried alive again.
so she was pronounced dead again, and then she was buried again the next day,
I
which
hope
I
she was
feel like
really
after,
dead.
yeah, exactly. I feel like after what just happened, they should have waited like a few more days, to make sure
Yeah,
she was really dead.
actually dead.
Yeah, but no, they just stuck her back in there the next day.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in 1891, Octavia Smith Hatcher of Pikeville, Kentucky, was suffering from severe depression. After recently losing her infant son, she eventually fell into a coma and was pronounced dead from unknown causes. Once again, embalming was not an option at the time, and it was a really hot summer. Because it happened in May, she was buried very quickly. Shortly after Octavia was buried, others in her town started getting sick, slipping into a coma much like Octavia. But they were eventually waking up. So Octavia's husband started freaking out, wondering if Octavia was really dead. So they dug Octavia back up, and sure enough, she was buried alive. The lining of her coffin had been scratched and torn, and her nails were bloody from trying to escape. Octavia was dead, of course, by the time they got to her, because some time had passed before they realized might have happened. What might have happened.
Yeah, there you go.
She was reburied, and her husband, I'm sure, heartbroken, created a lifelike monument for Octavia, which is still on her grave today. Ouch. Scary. I mean, that's what I would start doing.
I would be trying everything I could to get out of there. Um, so Pikeville, I've never been to Pikeville, Kentucky, but it's really close to where we're at in Virginia, and I kind of want to go there and like look for her grave and like
Yeah,
see
her
the
monument.
monument. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Horrible, horrible way to die though.
Yeah. So sad.
Um so this is the last story for this episode. So way back in way back in
Way back.
1661, this dude named Lawrence Calthorne, a London butcher, fell very ill. I'm guessing he didn't have any heirs because for some reason his landlady was really eager to inherit all of his things.
Sus.
So she had poor Lawrence pronounced dead at a nearby chapel, but there was no doctor consulted.
That should be fucked.
Yeah, I'm guessing the preacher or somebody at the chapel said, yeah, he's dead. Shortly after that, he was laid to rest, or so they thought. Visitors in the cemetery where Lawrence was buried started hearing screams coming from his grave.
Spooky.
He was quickly dug up, but unfortunately, just like in Philomel's case, it was too late. His burial shroud was completely shredded, his eyes were swollen, and his head was bloody from beating it against his coffin.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. His landlady, that bitch, was accused of a premature burial. So she got in
Good.
some kind of trouble. Didn't really specify
Yeah,
what,
but at least she got in trouble for it
yeah, at least they called her out.
after they figured it out.
Yeah, I hope
A little too
Lawrence,
late.
the butcher, came back to haunt her.
To butcher her ass.
Yeah, like the Terrifier.
Like the fucking Terrifier.
The Butcher. New film. It can be spooky, paranormal, but also gory.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. But yeah, that does it for
That was
being
pretty
buried
spooky.
alive. Yeah.
Welcome
It's a
to
great way to
our
kick
October.
off October, yeah. Our favorite month.
Our October episodes are gonna be one for the books, because when I was telling one of my friends, I was like, yeah, it's buried alive this week. She was like, that's terrifying. And I was like, welcome to October.
Mm-hmm.
Spooky month.
Next Friday is a Friday the 13th in October.
Let's go.
Woo!
I'll be in a cabin in the woods.
Celebrating Oktoberfest.
Let's
Cabin in the
go.
woods. That's perfect though. Like on Friday the 13th.
And there's a lake.
And there's a lake nearby. You have to take pictures.
I'm probably gonna put it on, maybe, like, to watch one of them in the cabin.
You should. Oh my goodness. That's like the perfect setting for Friday the 13th.
It wasn't even planned. It just happened. I was like, oh, wow. Weird.
Yeah. Well, next week we're going to be talking about stuff related to Friday the 13th. So
yeah,
stay
so get
tuned
ready,
for that.
guys.
Yeah. But we did the damn thing.
Yeah, we did. Y'all keep doing it too.
Yeah. Stay spooky.
Stay spooky.
This is spooky season.
Spooky month.
Yes. Happy Halloween. Almost. It's always Halloween for me.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what
have you seen that? It makes me think of that TikTok. It's always Halloween in my soul.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're funny.
Stay spooky.